one of the things that is most disturbing and that I don't hear talked about enough is that not only is there this desire to eliminate certain perspectives so that they just simply can't be voiced where anybody can hear them, but it's also rather arbitrary, right? I can tweet that men are not women. I won't get tossed off Twitter. I think the only reason I won't get tossed off Twitter is that I can pull the biologist card, and certain people would, you know, would riot in the aftermath of me being tossed off for that. But Megan Murphy's gone for saying that. And so I guess the question is, what exactly is this rule that some people can say it and some people can't? Like, what universe do you think that's going to result in? So there's the arbitrariness, which results in, the inevitable outcome here, which is just there's going to be favoritism. This is going to be pure myth making. We're going to decide certain perspectives are okay. Certain people can voice other things. This is going to create advantages. It's every value that we hold dear evaporated all at once. But as far as the layers go, yes, there's Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Reddit and all of these properties. But then there's also the layers below them, right? There's MasterCard. And we have seen this in the past. There are certain instances, actually, before the current cancel culture era, in which we have seen the MasterCard piece pulled out. So I remember early in WikiLeaks, before they had been successfully portrayed as a Republican/Russian asset in that
Amazing story, by the way. But anyway, yeah.
Well, I want you to say more about that, but let me just finish it out here. In the early days of WikiLeaks, there was a point at which WikiLeaks, to many of us, looked like a very positive force that was doing something very important. It was bringing transparency to these really despicable processes, and it became impossible to donate to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did donate to them at one point, and then there was some point at which it became too complicated to do. And so how much of a win was that against WikiLeaks, that suddenly the fact that MasterCard couldn't be, or whatever it was,
Really
I think it was all the credit card things. And then there was another one, totally unrelated. Daniel, maybe his name is Daniel Siebert, guy who, chemist who actually isolated the hallucinogenic molecule in salvia, which is a legal hallucinogen, which he was distributing. Suddenly it became impossible to buy from his site with any sort of normal currency. So my point is there's a fail-safe underneath the platform layer, which can be pulled out from under everything. And then below that, there's another one. And I have a feeling in the end, we're going to discover that net neutrality was about something we didn't really understand. That in the end, the ability of ISPs to take certain people out of circulation will be invoked if nothing else works to silence them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. All very possible.
Yep.
And we haven't gotten there yet. It probably hasn't been necessary. But I think the embarrassing thing is it hasn't been necessary because we just haven't seen anything like a wide-scale rebellion on the part of the people you would expect it to come from. I mean, the people in Maoist China or Soviet Russia who worked in the press, they had an excuse for not raising a ruckus about certain things. The thing that's always bothered me about journalists in the United States is you don't even really need to offer them anything to make them conform. There's no particularly even any special benefits that you get from doing so. It's just a very timid, uninquisitive group of people, and they're uniquely ill-suited, I think, to the mission of trying to oppose this thing. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I hadn't thought about those other layers, but those will probably come into play as well.
They will if they need to. It'll stop short of them if it can do it with the other layer. But the problem is, you say exactly the right thing. It hasn't been necessary yet, but the same principle applies. As soon as it's necessary, it will be too late. Right? You have to see it coming. And what you describe in journalism, I call the epidemic of cowardice. but it's also a kind of learned helplessness. And that's exactly what I saw in academia. And I think the problem is it's civilization wide, that our developmental environment has cultivated these weaknesses and now they are being exploited.
Well,